Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Nub as our Wehrmacht, and his opponent today is going to be Kasim-GJW as our British. I can never say this guy's name, but that's probably on me and not on him. Map today is going to be Road to Tunis. A big fan of this map. Four-leaf clover kind of set up here, divided by its 4 cutoffs. And these cutoff points here on the road, we're going to see lots and lots of fighting over. And as the game goes on, we'll sort of see players start to hang out in front of each other, in front of their own bases, maybe push into each other's base a little bit through the front door. And yeah. Airborne locked in for our German here. Picking up that battle, the Luftwaffe battle group there. Has not elected to drop in any Fulsham Pioneers just yet. And it looks like he's actually prioritizing, I was going to say munitions a little bit here, but I guess that's not really the case. Just getting the munitions on his way to the fuel. British player, on the other hand, has locked in the Australian Defence Battle Group and has called in some Australian light infantry for that little bit of increased capture speed in this early game. And has followed that up with a heavy machine gun. British player throwing down sandbags here to give himself a nice little lead. And while we have just a little bit of quiet as both our players pick up some territory, I just want to thank all of the new subscribers this week. You guys have been awesome. I know I say it every week, but seriously, I love your comments. Thank you so much for all the support. Now, interestingly enough, our British player's gone for a second Australian light infantry. And that is unusual. A lot of times you'll see folks go for one of these guys and then follow it up with a whole bunch of infantry sections. But not our British player, and love to see this. You know, I think I'd know what this is called. Not going to show me because it's a world object. Fight breaking out just in front of the British player's base here. German player is snatching away that fuel, or at least trying to. Fulsham Pioneers being dropped in here to bolster his forces in this area, and does look like he's going to pick that up. Now there's a heavy machine gun on the scene. Grenadiers trying to back up to the heavy cover, but not going to be able to do it. Good news for our German, though, he has captured that cutoff point. And this is going to be a bit annoying for our British player to deal with. So I think that's partly a product of our British player really focusing this bottom side pretty heavily, and didn't really seem to be interested in the top side of the map at all, and that German was able to get up into his base like this. But I do love seeing this aggression. I think it leads to some... he's putting himself in a good position going into this middle game. Going to ensure he hits those fuel benchmarks a little bit faster than his opponent. An infantry officer quarter on the way for our Germans, so going to level up all his infantry that he's deployed so far. Grenadiers a little bit low there, but should make it out okay. And yet another Australian light infantry for our British player. So with a build like this, you get a lot less utility, right? You don't get the recce packages for the smoke grenades, you don't get Bren guns, you don't get boys rifles, not that anybody uses that. And you're trading that utility, and also, actually a really big part that you're trading is grenades, right? And the ability to snare your opponent's vehicles with grenades is really, really strong. So we might see a scout car from our German just because of how good that is against what his opponent is doing here. Sangar wall. Yeah, that's what these are called here. Basically sandbags with barbed wire in front of them. So 2 for the price of 1. Gonna let him hold those points. Make it annoying for his opponent to take the territory back. And continuing to see this from our German here, just taking away as much fuel as he can from his opponent. And do these guys get... Yeah, it looks like his whole army got pinned by that heavy machine gun trying to walk out of his base there. And a Panzer Grenadier company on the way for a German. Very interesting. So I'm secretly hoping we're going to see some armored cars, just because I like seeing armored cars. But I'm actually feeling like we're going to see Panzer Grenadiers. And it sort of feels like our German is going to be going for... So at the end of this Luftwaffe tech tree, this Luftwaffe battle group tech tree, he's going to have access to 25% discount on reinforcing infantry. Let me just show you what I'm talking about real quick. Infantry reserves here. So I do think that our German is going to go for that. And he's going to have lots of grenadiers. And I think that because he's investing all his fuel back into his infantry, right? We saw him pick up the infantry officer quarters. And we'll see if I'm right about that. Now, I might want to think about an AT gun first, because our British player does have his platoon command post. So we could see an armored car, and without dedicated AT, it can be a little bit difficult to deal with that. Nice little pickup there, Pioneer going down. Not the end of the world, only 160 manpower, so our German's not too shaken up about it, but I'm sure he would have liked to keep that alive. Victory points looking really good for our German here. Oh, excuse me, for our British player. God. When the color up here is switched with their color on the map, it messes with me. I mean, I guess I could turn the map around, but I don't think anybody's gonna like this, so. You know, funny enough, I think I'm one of the very few players that does not use camera. A lot of players will face the camera towards their opponent like this. If I'm the blue team, sort of thing. I don't do that. I'd be curious how many of you do. I know the community is a little split. Yeah, anyway. So we are seeing a half-track for our German, very interesting. Now, I wonder what he's going to do with that. Could it be Stummel? Oh, yeah, okay. He was going medical, and then he switched to Stummel. An AT gun on the way. So AT is interesting here. I mean, our German does have access to this recoilless rifle here, LG-40. And a lot of times you'll see Luftwaffe battle group players drop one of those in. They're actually reasonably effective against infantry, surprisingly. Nothing overpowered, but better than you might expect. In the same way that a Chaffee is better against infantry than you expect. And I guess I'm coming from a Company of Heroes 2 world, where anti-vehicle units were just awful against infantry. I mean, imagine the Panther. It was just the worst thing you've ever seen. Bit of a fight breaking out here. Pioneer almost going down on the way out. Looks like the armored car wanting to chase. Is gonna get him. Nice little pickup there, but now he's a little bit surrounded here, so this armored car is going to keep on driving. Stummel isn't going to do a whole lot here. I mean, of course, it can damage the armored car. But that pack, on the other hand, going to find the shot here. Might get a second one. Just barely going to get out of range there. And Stummel missing its shot there, probably because it was aiming where the vehicle was, not where it was going to be. And a 2-pounder on the field for our German here to help out. Has been upgrading his Australian light infantry with these Springfield rifles here. Gonna give him some increased combat effectiveness. Stummel helping out here, doing pretty decent at that range. And he's gonna drive his opponent back. So German player investing in another AT gun. Your mine's going down. Where's that happening? Right here in the middle of the road. In the last couple minutes, our Germans managed to turn the victory point counter around. So looking pretty good right now. Does need to get repaired up. Lost all his Pioneers, so is going to have to use the Fulsham Pioneers there, and is dropping in another Fulsham Pioneer here. British player has been busy on this side of the map, throwing a bunch of these Sangar walls down, making the area a little bit difficult to take back. So, you know, I already said that I thought our German player was going to go for that infantry reinforcement discount, and I'm actually hoping that he goes for the emplacements technology instead. See if that actually happens here. You don't see a lot of emplacements at a high level just because of how easy it is to overrun them, right? With indirect fire or simply by flanking. So, I mean, he does technically have access right now to the Flak 36, not that he needs it, but just put that copium out there. Stimmel going to help out against this infantry, getting a great burst connection there, but the 2-pounder's on the scene, going to get some shots here. Repositioning at just the wrong time. Looks like the Grenadiers got driven back by the Australian Light Infantry scout car, armor car I should say, going to pick up those Fulsham Pioneers on their way out, and actually dropping that light machine gun there. A little bit of a visual glitch there, so you can't actually see it. Oops, let me just open up the stats here. 2-pounder still in position, getting another shot. Looked like he attacked ground through the smoke. Humber armor car hanging out at max range. AT gun ready for the action, but not going to happen. 2-pounder a little bit too far forward, but is covered by the heavy machine gun there. So should be able to get out safely. Here comes the Humber armor car, going to throw down some smoke. Stummel should see it. AT gun moving forward, but not going to take the shot. So, German player has lost quite a few units this game. But despite losing a whole bunch of units, has you know, reasonable map control, doing okay on victory points. I mean, he's winning, and feels like he's had enough fuel income throughout this game. I mean, he's already going up to Panzer Company. But that said, I mean, he's down 3 units, all of which are Pioneers. And feels like he's a little bit stuck in his base here, but again, has enough control of the victory points that he's not in danger, I would say. Another 2-pounder headed out here. The German did destroy the first 2-pounder, so British player being forced to rebuild that. And Stummel's going to go down to the second 2-pounder. Nice little pickup for our British player. And yeah, German is definitely hurting here. Now, of course, he's been invested in, you know, getting this Panzer Company up, right? So he has made the choice to not add on more units and instead tech up. And that's catching up to him a little bit here. And is going to go for some Stoßtruppen here. Stoßtruppen very good against everything the British player currently has, other than the Humber armored car, of course. And with our British player going up to company command post, feels like it's going to be a little bit rough here. Grenadiers making it into that house and heavy cover, so able to fight this at maximum range. And here comes a strafing run. Going to come right across all this infantry. Good little connection there. Going to force that heavy machine gun back and let the German player move into this area. German player did manage to re-secure his light machine gun there from those Fulsham Pioneers, so he's going to be happy about that. Now, these Australian light infantry do pretty well at this type of range, and with the mark from that Humber armored car, going to increase the combat effectiveness of all these units against these guys out in the open there. But they are going to bail out. And yeah, I mean, just keep your eye on these victory points throughout this game. Our German is being, you know, very attentive, making sure he's always controlling those units. Stoßtruppen covering for this AT gun, going to force all these units back. Humber armored car can't stay very long. And Stoßtruppen definitely going to win against the Australian light infantry. I'd love to see this AT gun used against this building here. AT guns incredibly effective against buildings. And if your opponent's not paying attention, level the building and they're going to be real sad. Stoßtruppen not being suppressed there, so are able to reposition into some heavy cover there. Heavy machine gun going to take away the center point. And interestingly enough, you know, I feel like a lot of games I see players fighting heavily on the edges. This game has been a little more about the center. Both players kind of... I mean, they are moving to the edges, but they don't seem to be running into each other as much as you might think. And maybe I'm just making stuff up here, but that's okay. Another Stoss trooping on the way here. So unafraid of any vehicles his opponent might be bringing to bear just yet. And these Stoss trooping going to do some serious work. Grenadiers all grouped up here. AT gun doesn't quite have an angle there. Should get it now. Looks like he's thinking about a Panzerfaust, but our British player sees it. And more Australian light infantry going to come in and push this area. But looking at the sides of the map there, blinking red in the important areas of the map here. So nice little take back by our British player, using his manpower or his squad advantage that he's built up for himself. And a Crusader on the way, interestingly enough. Wait, let's play the game. Matilda. I was about to say... I cannot tell from the silhouettes, man. Anyway, I think Matilda's a fantastic choice here. Matilda is anti-infantry, and when your opponent doesn't have any tanks on the field, Matilda is absolutely the right call in my opinion. A German player did pick up this infantry reserves here, so is going to have that increased, or the discounts on reinforcing his rather expensive infantry here. AT gun setting up on the Humber armored car, though, but the Humber armored car was over-repaired, and that's from the vehicle over-repair battle group option for our British player. I'll let those units have more health than they might seem. Matilda has arrived here. More Sangar walls going down. Where's that happening? Oh, right in front of my face. So German, once again, seemingly trapped in his base here. Does have a decent amount of manpower and fuel. Does not have access to any of the fancy heavy tanks, but I think a Panzer IV would do just fine here. Now, he hasn't seen the Matilda yet, so he might be thinking maybe he wants to go for... Okay, he is going to go for a Panzer IV. I'll bet you he was considering going for a Sturmpanzer, just based on what he's up against, but seeing the Matilda is going to change his mind. Or lock in that decision, I should say. Grenadiers taking that fuel back on the top side. And honestly, a little bit of a quiet game here. I mean, both players seemingly... I don't know. It's been a little bit of a quiet game. Stoss trooping and Grenadiers here absolutely shredding. Oh, it's just two Stoss trooping stacked right on top of each other there. Absolutely wrecking those Australian light infantry. British players, interestingly enough, added on a infantry section. Does look like he's picked up the recce package, and I'm thinking he wants that for flares and potentially some artillery call-ins. Phosphorus grenade going to cook this heavy machine gun right out of the base. Matilda pushing back these Grenadiers on the top side. Panzer IV has hit the field, is going to find the Humber armored car, getting a good connection. Humber armored car is pretty quick, but that's got one more shot here, and managed to connect, but it wasn't a full connection there. It does look like he's going to get away here. So nice little escape there by that Humber armored car. I do believe that's a a German mine there. So British player managing to dance around that mine so far. Matilda looking like he wants to come down, potentially deal with this Panzer IV. This is a pretty cool skin from our German here. Like that charcoal, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's neat. That's how I'll describe it. Okay. I mean, I have two of these right next to each other. And I'm over here thinking it's a Matilda. There's no way he's adding on another Matilda, right? Okay, he is. So, interesting. Two Matildas... So you basically never see two Matildas. It indicates to me that our British player is very much afraid of the infantry that he's up against, and he doesn't feel like he needs mobility to deal with this Panzer IV. Instead, Gonna rely on his 2-pounder and his 6-pounder to deal with this Panzer. And Panzer IV, of course, going to take advantage of that, right? I mean, the Matildas are so stinking slow. 6-pounder getting a good connection there. German really wanting to wipe the Australian light infantry, but might pay for it here. Matilda on the scene as well. AT gun's not in range. Panzer IV does look like he's going to escape. German player was plucking away there. I think, what? Yeah, this AT gun right here, getting some decent damage against the Matilda there. Panzer IV still on the run. Does look like he's going to make it out of there, if only by a small margin. Pioneer being added on now to repair this guy up. And more units coming out of our German player's base. Now, German player down to pretty low victory points. And AT gun's actually almost finding the side here. And we're going to see a call in from our... It's got to be a... Let's say British call in. It's got to be, right? Why is it not telling me? There it is. Okay. Forget the name of that ability there. I will check in just a second here. Creeping barrage. So you don't see the creeping barrage. What's the alternative? I don't see creeping barrage very often. Tilda's finding those... Hold the line, and... Oh, yeah, Archer. Duh. Yeah, I feel like players really favor that Archer. So it's interesting to see the creeping barrage here. Are you telling me that's another Matilda? Triple Matilda from our British player. Very, very interesting. So, I mean, you know, I'm liking it, because I don't, you know, often it's just Crusader spam, right? And... it's kind of fun to see something different here. Now, Matildas are going to struggle against this Panzer IV, but honestly, without any heavier tanks coming out, maybe Matilda's just perfectly the right choice there, because these AT guns are going to do fine defending these Matildas, and the Matildas are going to wreck all this high-tier infantry from our Germans. So, very cool. Now, this Matilda out of position here and undefended. Second Matilda coming back in. AT gun should get another shot here. Both shells bouncing. So Panzer IV here is going to keep chasing. Now, he doesn't know about the third Matilda here, but these Matildas, of course, aren't I mean, look at them. We've only seen one penetration. There's the second one finally. But that's the weakness of those Matildas, of course. And a big old tank battle. Well, the infantry battle rages on this side. Heavy machine gun did go down. All the German infantry. There is a second pack gun out for our German player. Deal with all these Matildas he's up against. And I know it's far too late for it, but a Pack 36 would have been totally sick this game. Of course, we're not going to see one, and that's okay. Panzer IV actually just eating these AT guns, no problem. Pack guns set up on the Matilda there. Getting more good connections. Second Matilda coming in to help out. And here comes a creeping barrage. German not going to get out of there in time, so AT gun may go down to this barrage here. Ooh, man, almost losing the Panzer IV to the creeping barrage as well. And does look like our British player wants to destroy the AT gun. Check back on that in just a second. Nice little steal away by our British player. Once again, keeping his opponent in his base. And yeah. So 78 points to go here. Bleeding is currently slow. AT gun's accidentally out of position. He's going to see it at the last second there. So, German player has a decent amount of fuel once again. Could go for another Panzer IV, but I don't know if he's got enough time. I mean, he should have enough time to add it on, but he really needs to stop the bleeding ASAP. He doesn't know this, of course, but it would be awesome if he went down to that bottom side to pick up that free point. Interestingly enough, Matilda's not actually guarding the victory point on the top side. So honestly, there are lots of options available to our German, and I think the worst one is the middle, but is going to force that to work, because that's where he is, and that's the choice he has to make. Has stopped the bleeding just temporarily here. And Stoßtruppen, again, continuing to do a number on these Australian light infantry. Veterancy 2 on one of them already. And Grenadiers being used to reinforce the Stoßtruppen out on the field, keep them active as long as possible. Absolutely the right choice. Grenadiers coming back in to stop this capture are going to stop it from happening. Vet 3, pretty scary. Panzer 4 on the way here. British player still has not fully repaired up his Matildas. Panzer 4 taking down that Australian light infantry. Not going to take him out, though. Pack gun getting some good shots on the Matilda. Going to drive him back. And neither player taking any losses here, but German player in control of the territory that he needs to be, at least for now. Panzer 4 finally on the field. I should say a second one finally on the field for our German player. And needs to be really careful here. Has to fully prioritize victory points. So, where does our British player go from here? He's locked himself out of archers. He seems very committed to Matildas. Yeah, I'm just thinking about what he needs. I mean, let's check if he's picked up all the training. I don't think that he has. In fact, he's picked up none of the training. So, definitely needs infantry training right now. And I also think he needs weapon teams training for that increased fire rate on his AT guns. If he's feeling really spicy, he could go for the tank training, but I don't think we would see that even if he was actually being active with training right now. That said, I mean, he is clearly struggling for manpower a little bit here, and that's what starts to happen with so much infantry. Both players just drawing lines in the sand here, daring one another to come out of their respective corners here. Matilda's getting really active, and finding these Stoßtruppen here. Pack gun being repositioned there, and an anti-tank loiter on the way for our German here. Gonna absolutely shred all these tanks here. That's a Stuka loiter, I should say, not the anti-tank variant. Just hits everything as it can, and is gonna lose one of his Matildas here by the looks of things. AT gun's getting some great connections on the Panzer 4 on its way out, but is not gonna pick him up. And nice little counter push by our German player there, allowing him to secure the center and take one of those Matildas out. Now, that might actually be a small blessing in disguise for a British player if he gets a little bit of increased manpower here. Could see him start to go for a Crusader if that's what he wants to do. And interestingly enough, with all these Matildas, a Crusader upgraded to the 6-pounder could be pretty decent here. Matilda caught out on its own here. AT guns not in position, are moving the right way though, but not quite reacting here. And here comes another creeping barrage from our British player, not going to connect very well here. Actually calling it down in the path of where those panzers were going to go, just to make sure his Matilda could get out of there. And yeah, things looking pretty good for our British player. I mean, he's still on a knife's edge, right? He has to be permanently attentive here. But he does have firm control of the victory points, at least 2 of them. And that seems to be working for him here. And big rotation in here to the middle. Heavy machine gun on the scene. Matilda's also in the area. German's not going to want that fight. AT gun's finding the Panzer IVs, not reacting because he's distracted. Unfortunately for him, not focus firing the tank there is going to get him just barely on maximum range. The 2-pounder there. Stoßtruppen might actually take out that 2-pounder though. And Grenadiers being driven back as expected on this side here. And it does look like the Stoßtruppen want to try and pick up this AT gun. Actually going to try and destroy the one out here with this remaining Panzer IV. Panzer IV is being added back on. Matilda's rotating up here, so Panzer IV probably going to get this AT gun, even if the Matilda's challenge, but is going to decide differently there. Second Panzer IV hitting the field right now. British player taking this victory point. German having to react immediately because he cannot afford to bleed pretty much anything here. Matilda's once again finding this Panzer IV, and it does look like another Matilda there. Yep. don't trust myself with these silhouettes, so I had to click on that. Sorry about that. And German actually winning this fight or British player actually winning this fight, but Panzer IV is going to put a quick stop to that. So, you know, you might be thinking, why am I saying to go for... why would I be saying to go for infantry training when all of our British players' units are already maximum veterancy? It's for that huge 10% harder to hit bonus that you get. Matilda going to go down here to a nice little snare from the Grenadiers, bouncing the Panzer IV shots though. No AT guns in the area. One more shot ought to finish the job here. Again, AT gun going to set up, but not in time, I don't think. Another bounce from the Panzer IV there. AT gun just out of range, but the Panzer IV going to creep forward, and AT gun going to fire here. I guess he can't see it, not in vision. But here comes the third Matilda. AT gun repositioning here to try and deal, and it does look like our British player is going to sacrifice 2 of his tanks for that Panzer IV, just the one though. So both players actually getting out of there relatively unscathed, all things considered. Just 1 tank each, and a nice little pickup by these Australian light infantry. Going to pick up those Grenadiers on their way out, and is going to take control of the top and bottom victory points by the looks of things. No units in the area. Stosstrooping coming now. And then yet another Panzer IV on the way. So, now with this full health Matilda, I mean, of course, our British player doesn't know this, but he should know that his opponent's Panzer is heavily damaged, and maybe he can sneak out here. But the last couple times he's done that, his Matilda's been totally undefended and alone, and cannot risk losing the Matilda, I would say. Is going to pick up the center point, though, by the looks of it, but the German player is going to win this bottom side, forcing back that infantry section. Matilda challenging once again this Panzer IV. Matilda focusing the AT gun as it should. Stosstrooping on the flank though. And British player did manage to tick 1 more point off of his opponent there. Panzer IV is being forced back by by the AT guns there. Stosstrooping coming in, but are going to be forced back, and that's another Stuka loiter here. Going to attack all these units, force our British player all the way out of the circle. So really great use of this ability, continuously pushing his opponent out of this area for the low cost of however much munitions that colony costs. I think it's in the hundreds. In the 100, I should say. Let's do a quick check. 180. Yeah, so not cheap, right? And he does have to take full advantage of it every time he uses it. Panzer IV is once again finding Australian light and might actually get them on their way out here. AT guns set up though. Oh, and gonna trade a Panzer IV, so what an excellent trade. Not even a trade, what an excellent find for our AT guns there, and actually getting 3 great hits on that Panzer IV. AT guns looking like they might want some more here. Matilda just outside the death circle, gonna take down that AT gun there. And I expect we'll see him rotate back in on these Stosstrooping when he gets a second. And GG being called by Nub here. Hasn't actually surrendered, but losing both of his Panzer IVs to these aggressive AT guns. And with only 18 points to go, didn't feel like he had a way back in that game. And, you know, I think that game really came down to attrition for our German player. I mean, he lost a lot of units, put him at a victory point deficit, and then even when he managed to equal the playing field with his tech, despite the Mimi build from our British player, just wasn't quite enough to keep him in the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did, and I will see you in the next video.